welcome to Love in the Time of Hydra, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. 10th Anniversary Podcast. I'm Jamie Jirak. If you're listening live, you're a day early, but if you're catching us on release day, it's September 30th, 2024, which means we're about to share some things that happened on this day 10 years ago. All About That Bass by Meghan Trainor was still the #1 song, and The Equalizer was the top movie at the box office. Honestly, guys, a lot of bleak news was going on. I feel like I'm not going to share it today, but if you really want the real news of the world, you let me know, and I'll start sharing it, because let me tell you, stuff is bad in the world, and it was then just now. There were a lot of birthdays, though. Nobody from Marvel, but Kieran Culkin turned 32, Fran Drescher turned 57, Eric Stoltz turned 53, and T-Pain turned 30. Happy 40th birthday, T-Pain. But of course, the most important thing that happened on September 30th, 10 years ago, was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s Season 2 episode, Heavy is the Head, aired on ABC at a new time, 9/8 Central. Hello, I'm here with my co-host, boyfriend, and level 2 Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fan, Tony Paletto. Hi, Tony.
Hi, Jamie. Thank you, everyone, for joining and listening in. We're excited to rock and roll.
And we have a very good friend joining us today. He's the host of Comic Book Queers, and he's the first guest to be on our main podcast 3 times. He was here to talk about Season 1, Episode 3. He was here to talk about Season 1, Episode 18. And now he's here to talk Season 2, Episode 2. Brett Manis is in the house, everybody.
Hi, how's it going? Hi, everybody.
Hi, Brett.
Hey,
I'm so happy
buddy.
to be here. Hey. Tony, Jamie, my gosh. I miss you both so much. I
know.
I do.
We're going
to see you great that I'm
soon. So.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Like less than a month.
Yeah. We're all going to Chicago, baby.
For our viewing audience, we're all going to be at the same wedding in Chicago. So that's fun.
I'm going to see you in person for the first time. I'm going to hug you.
Oh, that's crazy.
I can't wait. Oh my God, I give the most awkward, disgusting hugs. You're going to love it.
Oh, I can't wait, Brett. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Beautiful. We could just be friends on here all day, but we should talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I want to I know. I want to say hi to everyone in the chat. As always, love to see you here on a fine Sunday. If you're like me, as soon as this episode ends, you're going to go turn on The Penguin on HBO. But this is a Marvel show, not a DC show. Reminder that in 1 week from today, October 6th, we'll be at LA Comic-Con. We have our very first panel at 1 o'clock in room 402A. We have previously announced that Screen Rant's Joe Deckelmeyer is joining us, but surprise, alert, exciting. He's not the only one. One Brandon Davis is going to be crashing our party. Ever since Phase Zero ended, I just can't shake the guy. We decided to bring him in live. So that's an exciting announcement for you. And we'll be talking Season 2, Episode 3 next week. It's all happening. Tony, do you want to tell the chat the rules?
Yeah, guys. So no spoilers in the chat. If you're going to talk about anything that relates to the show beyond the episode we're discussing today, just write spoiler alert before you comment. That's to protect me and people like me who are going on this journey for the very first time and don't want to have the show spoiled for them. If you do spoil it, our producer Maria is very lethal and will stab you.
Fact, yeah, it's gotten darker over here, Brett. I
see that.
That Marissa, who the fuck is Marissa Tancherone? She created the show. I'm like buzzing today, you guys. Maria, our producer, she also has the power to block people. So if she clocks any bad behavior that's deemed, I don't know, homophobic or racist or anything like that, she's gonna say fuck you and block the shit out of you. So just keep that in mind.
Do you always give the homophobia warning, or is that just because this queen's on the show? Do I bring out homophobia?
This is the first time, and it's only because of you, Brett. We thought they're going to see this man and get nasty.
There's going to be a lot of
allies
on
an
this show.
Extreme level. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my God. All right. This episode, quick details. Heavy is the Head was written by Paul Zajewski. I'm pretty sure I've gotten his name down correct, but if anyone thinks I'm saying it wrong, please let me know. Just like last week, DJ Doyle is an uncredited writer on this episode, so it's interesting that happened 2 weeks in a row. Jesse Bochco is the director. He previously helmed Girl in the Flower Dress, and he directs episodes throughout the rest of the series. We have 5 of our 6 original cast members back in this episode. Brett Dalton is still a series regular, but he is nowhere to be found. But drum roll, we have a new series regular on the lineup. Tony, do you want to guess who is like an official series regular now?
I forget what his name is. Is it the big black guy who's the mechanic? Is it him?
It is not Henry Simmons as Mac. No, it is
Mac.
Nick Blood as Lance Hunter. He is the new 7th official series regular.
Holy shit! That's great because I have a lot to say about this guy.
Great. I can't wait for that, for those opinions. We've got a lot of people guest starring in this episode. BJ Britt is Trip. I do have to say, I kind of feel bad that they like went over BJ Britt and was like, you've been on the show longer than Nick Blood, but you are not a series regular yet. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
What can you do? Adrian Pazdar is back as Talbot. We've got returns from last week. Henry Simmons as Mac. Simon Cassiet. God, I always do this wrong. Cassianettes as Sunil Bakshi. And Brian Patrick Wade as Carl Creel. Returning from last season, Ruth Nega is back as Raina. And last but not least, making his debut. Sorry, Tony, his name is not Bloodman. He is currently credited as the Doctor, Kyle MacLachlan, everybody.
Yes. And Brett, just so you know, in at the end of season 1, we got a little teaser of a character at the very end sitting in a chair, and you saw his hand, and for all I could tell was he was a man made entirely out of blood. So I've been eagerly anticipating the reveal of Bloodman, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. supervillain. That was inevitable. I knew it was coming. Turns out that person just had blood on their hands and then wiped it off and walked out, and it was Kyle MacLachlan.
Turns out that person took washed their hands, took a shower, something.
Yes,
and it was Kyle
not
MacLachlan.
A blood man.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have to say, I am annoyed that you do get hit with a guest starring Kyle MacLachlan in the opening credits, because what a reveal that would have been. It's
Tony,
also very weird that
I did see Kyle MacLachlan, yes. But, you know, we've talked about this before. When Jamie and I were watching Buffy and Angel, there were certain episodes that she would be like, do your best not to read the credits, you know? I think I should just kind of make that something I practice when watching network television, you know?
I dropped the ball. Yeah. I thought he was the end. I genuinely thought that he was a surprise. I didn't know his name was going to be in the credits. I knew he was in it. And so that was my bad. But you knew he was showing up. Did you assume when you saw his name that he was going to be Bloodman?
Yes. I knew. I knew once I knew there was a Bloodman, and once I knew there was a Kyle MacLachlan, I was like, surely this is the same guy. And my dude showed up and giving off very evil Dougie vibes. Loving it already.
Oh yeah, it's an evil Dougie. This isn't a great time to tell you all to watch Twin Peaks if you haven't yet. All right, this episode picks right where the last episode left off. Hunter survives that crazy crash caused by Creel. He is taken by Talbot. Meanwhile, the team tries to stop Creel, who's been weirdly affected by that mysterious obelisk. Brett, what are your initial thoughts and feelings about this episode?
Love Carl Creel. I want to start there. And I like last time when I was on the show, I talked about how when there's actual Marvel comic book characters brought into the show, I would get so giddy. And Crusher Creel, the Absorbing Man, I mean, that is iconic C-list Marvel. I mean, that, like, if you want to get into, like, who is the face of C-list Marvel, it's the Absorbing Man. So I was excited about that. Other thoughts? I think we've got a big upgrade from Ward in the form of Hunter. I'm like, okay, if there's going to be a new alpha male on the team, let's have it be this suave one with a bit of an accent. I like that. That's an upgrade.
100%. Tony, what are your? I know you said you have a lot of thoughts on Hunter, so now's your time if you want to share them.
Yeah, no, I have a lot of thoughts on him scene by scene. So, we'll get to him as it comes, but I will, he doesn't read as an alpha male to me, especially not with like fucking Trip and Mac, like just in the back, you know what I mean? He's the cocky, agent or whatever, but, going from the previous episode, Jamie was commenting how much you liked him as a guy who drinks a beer during a debrief with Coulson and just be like, fuck it, I don't give a shit. And like, I get that, but I was kind of like, I don't know if I like that. Yeah, I don't know if I like that as a characteristic of a person. But then, we see him in this wrecked car. I love that we, picked up right where we left off. And May catches up to him and is there with him and says, we got to get you out. And he's like, no, leave me. He's got the thing. Go get her. Avenge Hartley. Like, I was like, okay, the guy proved his value and his allegiance. And I was like, all right, I'm on your team now, guy who drinks beer in the meeting. Like, you're cool now. So it took, and he's obviously going to do some more stuff as the episode goes. But yeah, I'm into him now.
Okay. And your thoughts on the episode as a whole?
Oh, I dug it. It's good.
Okay.
I'm concerned about Coulson. Even before, we reveal later he's constantly working on this project, I was feeling that he is very haunted and possessed by something. I don't know what it was early in this episode that signified that, but I was like, I'm not sure about. Because like last episode, I was like, no, he seems good. And beginning of this episode, I was like, no, he does not seem good. But gosh, I mean, Raina's back, and Creel, I agree, is just awesome. I like that he's losing his sense of self, and he's this kind of a stoic beast of a guy who's like all now very vulnerable, and that's interesting. So yeah, good episode.
Great. Yeah, I think it's a good episode. It's not a favorite in terms of like it doesn't like stand out on its own in any way. It's very much a connection of the last episode. There aren't a lot. I think the big thing is Rain is back. Kyle shows up for the first time as this mysterious doctor who's talking. We'll get to his scene in the end. But what I do really like about this episode, from like a perspective of like a newcomer, is there's just so many unanswered questions, and it's fun to revisit because like Brett and I know everything that's going on, and you see it from a different perspective when but I do remember watching this for the first time like, what the fuck is happening? And that's fun. Are you feeling that, Tony? Like, there are so many questions.
There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of moving parts. As I said in the last episode, when we were talking about it, I trust Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to take me on this journey. Like, they did such a good job with all of their plots and characters in season 1. I'm excited that there's all of these things that are kind of floating in space. We have Talbot and McLaughlin and Raina and the character whose name I'm forgetting, who's the Nazi who came back from,
Whitehall.
We have like so many Whitehall. We have so many antagonistic elements that I'm digging the questions.
Yes. Great. Let's just dive into it. It opens, like we said, right where the last episode picks off. We don't see that a lot on this show. So that's a little bit at the end of season 1, but poor Hunter. He's stuck in that car. His friends are dead. May shows up, like you said. She has to leave him by his request to go get Creel. Like, so much is going on. As soon as he gets out of that car, the soldiers get him. And then we have this really fucking awesome May motorcycle chase scene. Brett, I gotta hear your thoughts on that.
So, two things. One, at this point, I remember going, surely Xena is not dead, right? They're not going to introduce Xena and then kill off Xena, are they? So I'm waiting for Isabel to pop back up. But the other thing is May. So much of May in season 1 was alluded to or suggested or hinted at. And now we're seeing Agent May sort of in her badassery. Like, she's on a motorcycle, she's dodging trucks on the highway. She's like, she's, the iconic, I have a shot. Like, that's, we're finally seeing May be a little bit more human than human in terms of field action. And that I remember being very exciting.
Yeah, I think that we've always seen her in like really good hand-to-hand combat scenarios and being just kind of generally a smart operative. But now she's action hero maximized. She's really doing it.
Love it. I just like the way this is shot too. It's just really fun. Let's see. She wants to shoot Creel, but Coulson gives the orders not to because he wants to interrogate. You can tell May doesn't like that decision, but May is always she's gonna listen. And then after that, we've got the Quinjet is back. I know that, Tony, you did not react to Kyle's name, but you did get excited when you saw Ruth's name.
Yeah. Because I knew Kyle was coming, and I knew he was coming soon. I mean, I assumed he was. So yeah, obviously I was excited to see him. I think I didn't react because I was disappointed that I saw it. So it was just kind of like, oh.
I know. I know. I was upset that I didn't. But we're moving on. From that disappointment. What else do we learn here? Coulson says not yet when Trip and Sky ask about Hartley, and I think that's an indication of how he's running things right now. Like, he's not willing to tell them that they're dead.
Yeah. Well, the mission isn't over, right? Like, they still have shit to do. The obelisk is still out there. That's what we're calling it, right? The obelisk, is that right?
Yeah, the obelisk.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, so that's still out there, and Creel's still out there. It makes sense. It's like, this isn't time. This isn't the debrief time. This isn't time for us to mourn the loss. It's like, we still shit to be done. So yeah, makes sense.
Cool. Love it. That's when I love this because Coulson calls Hunter a five-alarm fire. I like that. And then when Talbot comes to Hunter, Tony, you went, no, you did not want Hunter to side with Talbot.
Well, yeah, we just came off a season where, double cross was a huge part of it. And as soon as that was happening, I was like, no, this again, it's effective drama, but I'm like, I don't want to deal with that right now. And then they ultimately played their hand really well in having Hunter disclose to Coulson pretty much everything that occurred between him and Talbot. And then still, there's in this level of spydom, there's no way you can be invisible in your actions and just choices and decisions. So you kind of have to just tell most of the truth to both parties. And so he was in flux for this episode. I wasn't sure where he was going to land. And I like that. I like that we kind of went ahead and traveled that arc in one episode, as opposed to having him listening around corners for half of the season,
Totally. And then we get back to the cloaking. They figured that out. Max kind of been on it. And then they're all chit chatting. They're doing a little gossip. And Sky says that Gemma abandoned them. So whatever's going on there, there's some salt. Mac wants Fitz to help him. It's just all kind of tense around Fitz, and it's really sad. Sky's taking it hard.
Yeah.
I'm sad.
Me too.
Well, she lacks patience with him, and it's kind of hard. It's not hard to watch, but it's kind of nice to see a character flaw in Sky. When Fitz is trying to get it out, and she's like, "Take your time," that right there kind of shows a little bit of impatience with. Yeah. So it's nice to see her kind of not acting on best behavior out of not knowing what to do with her friend in this situation. It's just kind of nice to see her kind of drop the ball a little bit in terms of being a good friend.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
And then we're back to Talbot and Hunter. We learn a little bit about Hunter in the scene. He used to be a lieutenant, one of the SAS's finest, in fact. And he left because he, quote, met a girl. He references later that he has a psychotic ex-wife. And all Talbot wants is Coulson. He's got a one-track mind, baby. Name your price, $2 million, but he also wants a proper burial for Hartley, which I think is an important character trait for Hunter.
Yes. Yeah, it keeps him human. I like it was an interesting negotiation. I like Hunter as not sure what you're going to do. He's not a wild card, but he's got his own kind of program.
Yeah, Brett is shaking his head yes, in agreement for those listening.
Yeah, what I love about this moment is when Hunter says, when he comes clean to Coulson and he's like, what I wanted is a proper burial for Hartley. And you're like, he's not mentioning the $2 million.
Yeah.
Is it because that was what he wanted and he's hiding that from Coulson? Or is that because the $2 million was meaningless and it was just a way to start speaking Talbot's language? So you don't know where, Like, is he hiding that, or is that just not even on his radar to begin with? You know, the first one being he's kind of a bad dude, second one being he's kind of a righteous dude. So I kind of like that you're still not clear on what we're supposed to think of Hunter.
It's a good question because we see him when he's having a renegotiation with Coulson, after Coulson's like knows that he met with Talbot and everything. Hunter makes a very specific point about, I want to get paid. I want to get paid. So he is, he's a mercenary. He started, from the beginning, he's a mercenary.
But then what does he say after that? He's like, and I want their pay too. He's like, and I want their pay too, because their families deserve something. And you're like, oh my God, where on the moral compass are you? And it's great.
Yeah.
And to somebody's point on the chat, like, yes, it is nuanced. Perhaps it is both, which is a testament to that character.
Yeah. Totally. I'm into it. I'm into the ride.
Then we get like Coulson in his office. He's playing with his little stretchy screen thing. Tony got a laugh out of, he had a reaction to an image of Peggy was on there. A lot of Peggy so far this season because or Agent Carter is coming up in January. Is when that starts. Coulson is just, I don't know, to me, and he's seeming so stern, so unfeeling in a way in this new role. And Skye wants to be in the loop. She tells him to loosen up, do some yoga, but he's not flexible. Tony, how are you feeling right now about before we see him later struggling with the carvings? How do you feel about him just kind of tense as a leader?
The word I wrote down in my notes is he's possessed. And I don't mean that like in a literal sense, but his mind is possessed. And when we do get to the carvings, it's clear that he's literally every second of every day suffering withdrawal from not being able to explore this pattern that he is so obsessed with. He's sitting there with May before it's time to carve. We're jumping ahead, but like he's sweating. Like he's an addict. He has an addiction. And so that really clarifies to me why he's so curt and impersonal in these first two episodes.
He has a compulsion, and it's like taking over more and more of his focus and his mind. And yeah.
And you have to let it release. You have to feed the shadow, for however long it takes. You get yourself a fresh wall and have your time. And then, it's compelling. It's very compelling.
It's interesting, kind of how they go hand in hand, I guess, like the problem he's having, but also this big larger Shield issue. But I think what's interesting with Skye is like when it comes to Coulson and when it comes to Fitz, she's clearly very like an empath, like it's like she's feeling it really hard from both ends. It's clear to me that Skye just wants season 1 team back. She's struggling with this new dynamic.
Yeah, Sans
they were her
Ward,
family.
Yeah.
Even Ward. Like she wants that Ward back.
She wants that Ward back 100%. Yeah.
When she makes the not everybody, like the team came back, not everybody. You can't you can't help but think she means Ward in addition to Gemma.
Yeah. Totally.
And we do learn that Fitz is still seeing Gemma. And fake Gemma's a little saucy. I like fake Gemma. She's like, ooh, steal the paper. Like, because Fitz, she's so close to real Gemma because Fitz knows Gemma so well. Like, she's not much different than Gemma. And I like that, but it also makes me sad. And we, so we're getting into this whole, like, we're trying to figure out Creel's DNA and all that. And then that's when we learn that Creel has part of the obelisk stuck on him. He touches a waitress and she fucking dies. It's terrifying. Tony had like a big reaction to that.
Yeah. I actually didn't associate it with the obelisk at first. I was like, wait, can Absorbing Man not just not touch people? Is he lethal to touch? And then I was like, oh no. It's because he's corrupted by it. Yeah, that was gnarly. That poor lady, and May had to sit there with her while she got taken over by this metallic death face. That was pretty brutal.
Yeah. And let's see. There is a line between May and Coulson that I really like, where she says, "Just because you're director doesn't mean everything's on you, Phil." And he says, "Yes, it does." And that kind of goes back to everything we've been talking about. And he's not wrong, right?
No.
Like,
he's not wrong. Yeah. Neither is she. No. Meaning, they can do it together.
Yes, they're,
Yeah.
not everything's black and white, of course. Then that's when Hunter comes back in his slick ride, but Trip takes him in, and basically they're just kind of being transparent with each other. Tony, I could tell, really liked the line, "You think you're entitled to answers?" You got a big laugh out of that one, Tony.
It's just Coulson's so good at just how do you describe that? Like he's the boss in the chair, and when he says a line like that, it's so loaded with "Who the fuck are you?" And like the other thing is that Clark Gregg is like a cat in the way that he always seems to be smiling. You know what I mean? He's just his face is just, and that translates into sarcasm and snarkiness. And anyway, he just crushed that line. Sometimes Clark Gregg just hits a line out of the park, and it makes me smile.
He's the best. We love him. And then we have that scene that you guys were kind of talking about earlier, where Hunter's basically negotiating, right? With Coulson. At this point, Tony, were you sure of where Hunter was going to land? Did you think that he was fully working for Talbot, or?
No, I was relieved. I was relieved because, like I said, I didn't want another spies in the house plot line to take over the show. So I was relieved of that he was transparent with Coulson in their conversation. And then I was modestly surprised by his, second turn of knocking everybody out and, trying to get his kill. Relief would have been where I was at with Hunter in that moment for sure.
Brett, do you remember your initial Hunter thoughts when you first seen
at 100%. This was the new agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, you could dance the dance. We all know where this was going, is that this is the new team member, and I just loved it. I loved knowing it was inevitable that this guy was like, fine, I'll join the team eventually. And just the fact that they, kind of zigzag to get there, I thought was so cool. They zigzag because it kind of read to me like Hunter didn't know if they were good guys enough for him to join. He's so righteous and moral when it comes to Hartley. I think like he was like, I think these people lack the value of a team, qualities that I have, and so he values team, he values partnership, and he didn't see that in them because they're fractured. So I love that it was more like Hunter thinking, are they good enough for me to join? That was kind of how it read. And so it was cool to see that kind of flipped on the team. Somebody judging them as not being team enough. And I liked that. I liked that dynamic that eventually he came around. He was like, no, I think these people are the real deal.
But I recently learned, because I didn't know, that Lance was actually a comics character. Do you remember him from the comics?
That's actually news to me.
Yeah, right.
Now.
He wasn't. What was it's not Sword, it's not Shield. The other one.
Hammer.
What are the other ones? No, maybe it was Sword. I talked about it last week.
Maybe Sword.
I already forgot. But he was like a founding member of one of the other ones in the comics, and I did not know that. So
interesting. Do you think that was established before Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., or maybe they like retroactively put him in?
It was before. He was in there before.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay.
Because I was surprised to learn that myself. He's probably
I'm going to cancel my Marvel Comics podcast.
Oh,
you don't know every single tiny character of all time every second, Brett?
Just hang up your cape, Brett.
Damn it.
Well, I wanted to say one other thing though about the Coulson dynamic with Hunter is that, I think Hunter was kind of rode off S.H.I.E.L.D. when Coulson in the first episode said it was okay for that mission to keep going. They're like, let's go, let's get out of here. And he was like, no, we're going to get the Quinjet. But the thing that Coulson throws at Hunter is like, she did not follow my orders. Like she got fucked up because she did not do what he said. And he really doesn't have a response to that. So that's the other thing I think that's in the back of his mind. He has to kind of face that reality of like, if she had followed his orders, this all wouldn't have happened, right?
Mm-hmm. He agrees. Yeah.
Meanwhile, like Fitz is doing his Krill research, and that's when kind of Mac starts working with him. And I instantly love this dynamic where Fitz, he's getting angry, so Mac just kind of keeps pushing him, and where everyone's treating Fitz so like fragile, like he's gonna break, and Mac doesn't know him, so he's just like gonna treat him how he thinks he should treat him. And so Tony, I obviously have to ask your feelings on Mac at this point.
Patience, not placation. That was what it was. He was not babying him. When Fitz walked into a room earlier in the episode, he goes, "Oh, hey Fitzy, how you doing? Good." And he's just like, full of this insecurity. Everybody's looking at him. Everybody knows he's fucked up. He knows he's fucked up. And Mac is just like, "What are you trying to say? That doesn't make sense. What are you looking at?" He's holding him accountable to his behavior, and giving and he, at the same time, he's like, "I understand you have something to say. What is it?" "Okay, I don't know what you mean." He is being patient, but he's forcing him to do what he does best, which is to be a fucking genius. He kind of corners him into that situation, and I was like, what does he mean when every time he says, "I didn't solve this today," and it took the personality of Mac to finally extract what that meant, So I thought that was a beautiful relationship. That's my favorite part of this episode is Fitz and Mac, because that's just it's just lovely. It's just like, I think, a really, really, really beautiful relationship.
Brett, do you remember your first Mac thoughts?
Yes, but breaking news. Somebody wrote in the chat that Lance Hunter might be from Strike, which is from
right.
Alan.
Strike.
He was one of the 4 British telepaths. Yeah, that was in Alan Davis's pre-Excalibur Captain Britain work. That's what that means to me, and my mind is blown, because they are deeply connected to the character Psylocke on the X-Men, and so a new episode on Comic Book Queers has just been born. What was the question? The Strike thing just threw me.
Oh no, I love that.
Thrown.
We love to get you excited about all things Marvel. No, just your kind of initial thoughts on Mac back in the day.
Oh my God, I loved this character so much. Because first of all, hi, Daddy. Second of all, he was so kind. He was kinder than Skye was, and Skye was trying to be kind, and Mac was not. And just by that act, Mac was kinder than Skye in their interaction with Fitz. Mac being such an empathetic character for such a big, imposing man, I was so immediately interested in this gentle giant. I was hoping that this character, like Hunter, I love Hunter. I thought, Ward's gone, Hunter's in, that's a fun upgrade. I also thought, this Mac character, maybe he could stick around and be part of the team too. That would be fun. Who's to say one way or the other if that happens? But I remember really connecting to him immediately in that moment, and just really feeling something for this kind character.
Yeah, man.
That feels like a lovely place to take a little 30-second break. You can go refill your drinks, go to the rest, whatever you gotta do, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Love in the Time of Hydra. We are here with our friend Brett Manis talking season 2, episode 2. Before we keep talking about the episode, I just want to clarify some things, because I see some debate in the chat about spoiler stuff, and maybe we have some newcomers, whatever. So just to clarify, if you're in the chat, you can talk about anything you want that ever happens, as long as you say spoiler first. If you're not sure, just say spoiler first, just in case. Super, a lot of people, most of the people in the chat are longtime Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fan. fans who want to talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., we just do the spoiler just to protect Tony. Hashtag protect Tony. There are maybe people in the chat who are like Tony watching for the first time. And again, so just in case, spoiler, and then talk about whatever the heck you want. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. Just preface. But anyway, moving on. Sky's packing Hartley's things. This is kind of a sad scene. And Hunter comes in and they have this whole discussion about, Izzy has a sister and like, oh, her mom died of cancer and now her sister has cancer. Like, Jesus, we're like really laying on the drama pretty thick with this one, aren't we?
I was a little distracted during this scene because I thought all I could think about was, hey, Hunter, change your fucking t-shirt. Because he gets in a fucking car wreck and he's covered in blood. And then he gets in a helicopter and he's covered in blood. And then he goes to have a meeting with Coulson and he's covered in blood. And now he's sitting in here with Sky, kind of having a bit of a flirt with her. I'm like, change your fucking shirt. You've had like 3 opportunities to get a new shirt. We know you're a hard ass. You did a great job. Get a fresh white tee on. That's all.
But it was all he had left of her.
Her blood.
Jesus
Hunter's
Christ.
the real blood man. Blood man revealed.
Blood man's back. Oh boy.
Sorry.
Tony, you said flirting with her a little, and I did write in my notes, Sky and Hunter, question mark? I think that...
Why would you write a question mark, you silly? You know the answers. Was that question mark for me? I'm not reading your notes.
It was for you. No, it was meant for you.
Okay.
Do you... I literally... It was meant for you, like, do you see any kind of spark between them? And you said the word flirting, so my question mark asked and answered.
I saw some flirting. I don't really sense a spark. I'm going to give him... I'm not... I don't have any opinion about it one way or another at this moment in time.
Fair. And then an important moment in this scene is when Sky says S.H.I.E.L.D. is my life now, and Hunter says S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't a life, it's just a job. And I think it kind of, I understand where she's coming from, and I understand where he's coming from. This is an episode all about nuance. There's a lot of gray areas. Brett, what are your thoughts?
I mean, and it's all about living in the context of what came before, I don't know. So Hunter has alluded to having a past with these he knows people, he's connected to people, and here's somebody who we are thinking has experience, with these organizations, these type of people, and he's like, don't get too swept up in it. Trust me, you want a life outside of it. Which is so interesting because then all of a sudden you're like, ooh, what happened, Hunter?
Yeah. Yeah, write a love ballad about it, Hunter. Tell us your story.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I like that. So meanwhile, Creel's powers now aren't working. And Bakshi calls him a lot of drama, but then here we go. Raina is back, my girl. Tony said out loud, everybody wants a piece of Creel. Tony's starting to feel for Creel, I think, a little bit.
I am.
Moment.
Are you feeling for Creel?
I have been trying to really save it, but you have no idea when this show was on. I was like, this is the hottest man I've ever seen in my life.
You would be a Creel man.
You said that about
War. So I know.
Why
do you think I watched this show? No, I'm like seriously, like Creel is that's my type. He's a hot man. Everybody wants a piece of Creel. Everybody, especially after he turns into Diamond or something.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. And then this is one thing I think we kind of blew over is that or maybe it hasn't happened yet, but in Sky's description of Creel, she's like reading it off an iPad, and she's like, he can turn into anything and do anything. You know what I mean? And I'm like, thank you, Sky, for acknowledging the sexual potential of Creel.
Sure, but what material, what do we want? A full rubber? And here goes a rabbit hole. Welcome to the next 20 minutes, folks. So what material would Creel turn into in order for people to exercise some fantasies? What is he?
That is, I honestly didn't
Latex
think that far
Man?
ahead.
That's where my mind just went. Because you said diamond, then my mind went diamond dick? And then I was like,
sure.
Oh, no.
Everybody, please, the kinkiest idea you have for Creel, go.
Yeah, great. This is
microfiber upholstery.
Oh,
hell yeah. That would be good. Yeah. Everybody's dream.
Oh my god. So I've talked about before. Brett saw me in my peak of this when I used to write erotic fan fiction and read it on stage. And I did Tony witnessed me do that last night for the first time of our relationship. And we've talked about potentially doing that on this show, but I think we agreed after he watched it last night is that I might be a little too crass for our audience. I think I might be
I
a
know the
little
feeling. Yeah.
too disgusting
Yeah,
for,
disgusting.
for this podcast.
Maybe do
But,
it on the last one.
We all come together.
It's a $25 Patreon subscription to hear Jamie talk dirty about fucking.
It's a Patreon thing.
Yeah.
Oh god. Wow. Brett said it was going to be a 20-minute tangent, and he wasn't wrong. But okay, back on track. Reyna wants the obelisk. She offers him carbine, which is 3 times harder than a diamond, and it can store energy. I don't know what carbine is. That real or is that a Marvel thing? I genuinely don't know.
I think that's a Marvel thing.
Okay. All right. I didn't look it
brought
up.
to you by the makers of vibranium and adamantium is
Okay,
carbine.
okay. All right.
Yeah.
I thought that was probably the case, but I didn't look it up. So if there's anyone who's a scientist in the chat, that's like on when I just did Slayer Fest 98, and I learned that they talk about how mustard seed is Eye of Newt, and I thought they just made that up for the show, but that's a real thing. That is real. Mustard seed is Eye of Newt.
That's
I
real?
didn't know that. Yeah, right?
I knew that.
Mind blown. Well,
I'm the least
wow.
Mr. Witch over here.
Wow, he's a witch.
Yeah, I know.
God, I love that show.
I do. Oh God, I know. I want to backtrack a little just because I want to call out Vesk's comment in the chat, where it's kind of hard to call Shield just a job considering how like underground it is. You've got to be passionate to work there, and I think that's really fair. It's not you're not going into a real retail job, but I don't think you should make a job of your life, no matter how good or great it is, because one day you might lose it after 6 years and you didn't expect it, and then you have a life to lead. So just something to think about. But Reyna calls Coulson. And that's interesting. We love to see that. I love Reyna Coulson scenes because Ruth and Clark are just both amazing actors, and I really love the way that they play off of each other. She's making it clear she's not Hydra. I like when she says world domination is so 1945.
Yeah. She made that clear that she wasn't Hydra in season 1, though. Like she was after something. I wish I could remember exactly what she had said about it, but she was looking for something way more transcendental than world domination, and she's still chasing that. She's still chasing this 084 shit, and I like that she's back because that thread is still unraveling.
Mm-hmm.
To the point of the Coulson Reyna dynamic, like it's so fun to watch someone who doesn't have time for games talk to someone who is nothing but games, and that's what makes that dynamic so interesting.
Oh yeah, dude.
I also Jeremy has a chemistry degree and would like us all to know that carbine is in fact not real. So just in case there was anyone still curious, it is not real.
They covered that year 3.
Yeah. Here are all the fictional. I want to take that class. Fictional elements, fictional science.
There's a whole chapter in Indiana Jones.
Yes. But Reyna, she's a smart little cookie because that carbine, very real Marvel thing, has a tracker in it. They're sending out the team. Coulson decides he wants to test out Hunter in the field. I like that May is like, we can use him. She seems to like Hunter.
Yeah,
love that.
Mm-hmm. Could there be sexual chemistry there? Now I'm just like throwing Tony off all of a sudden. She did fuck Ward. No one saw that coming.
Nope. Just left that door right open, didn't she?
But things happen in the field.
Yeah, it's
things
true.
happen in the field and at hotels after when you're done working.
So, okay. Meanwhile, Mac and Fitz are trying to make that stabilizer. Fitz is getting mad. Mac is getting mad, but in like a parent way, like in a positive, pushy way. And that's when it like Fitz keeps saying, "I didn't solve this today," but what he means is he solved it before. He's already solved this. And I kind of love that. And I love that Matt figures that out. We've already talked a lot about this dynamic, but I could talk about it all day because I think it's beautiful.
Yeah. The device that they're modifying, what was that from? A previous episode we've seen? I didn't remember it. Have we seen that before? Because I assume because of what he was saying that it was something that was used in season 1, but maybe not.
I think it might have been the very first episode what they used to neutralize Mike Peterson, but I'm actually not.
I thought
no,
of
it's
that.
not. Okay, then I'm not totally sure. If somebody in the comments, I'm sure somebody knows. This is why we need you. This is why we do this show live. We need your help, people. I can't know everything. And that's when Hunter ices May and Sky and Trip, and Tony goes, "Damn it," because he really wanted Hunter to be good.
Yeah, I was so relieved that he didn't do the double cross, and then he did the double cross, and I was annoyed. Yeah, boo.
Yeah, but triple crosses are always potentially.
We got a triple. Mm-hmm. We got a soft quadruple coming up.
And then when Bakshi and Creel are talking, Creel says happy to comply. Now, I'm asking this question genuinely because I can't remember. Do you think he has an eye chip? Is he being controlled by Hydra? I think he was. Can't remember.
I was immediately like, oh, he was Winter Soldiered.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah, that was my immediate read. I remember then, and now, even watching again, being like, oh, no, yeah, definitely, no. He has... It was funny because it wasn't obvious trigger words.
Right.
In Winter Soldier, but it did feel like just simply saying, are you ready to comply, kind of created this acquiescence in Creel.
I just took it as, the general soldier brainwashing of, Hydra's always giving you what you want, and relax, remember to breathe and think, and are you going to comply? I also just don't think like he had any other avenue. He needed, he's in such dire straits. He really has, all he can do is rely on his masters, quote unquote, to give it to him.
For me, it's the response. For me, it's not it wasn't I'll comply. It was a, yes, I am ready to comply. I was like, ooh, that was wooden.
Yeah,
good point.
Exactly. It's fun when I can't remember something. I like because at this point I do know most things, but something slip out of my brain, including the device. We've got Simon, Kenneth, Jeremy all confirming that the device was the Overkill device from the Hub episode in season 8. Yes, thank you everybody for helping us. We love you. What a great community.
Gosh, yes. Yeah. Well done.
Let's see here. And then Creel's about to Creel and Hunter fight, and Creel's about to kill the shit out of Hunter, but Coulson saves him with the device that we just learned about. So yay, that's great. Then we get to Hartley's funeral. Hunter breaks into the sister's car, leaves the necklace. Coulson shows up, offers Hunter a job, and one of my favorite lines of the episode is, "I shot 3 of your agents, including Agent May. Not a smart move." I can't wait to see how that dynamic plays out.
Yeah, the hardest thing's going to be he's going to come join the team or whatever, but I mean, he's got a lot of making up to do. He's going to be getting a lot of side eye. He's going to be getting his ass kicked by May. That's a hard scene to walk back into.
Yeah, a lot of shaving cream to the face for sure.
Yeah, the worst of all. Yeah. I love this scene. Just because Coulson being Coulson, what he is it's like the patron saint of second chances. He's always giving the benefit of the doubt, and I think Shane can be malleable, and I think that's where Hunter's at right now. And so he makes a lot of risky calls. This is the first time I've seen Coulson as the Coulson from season 1. Just like, man, you're really putting a lot on the line for your trust in humankind, and that's just kind of what he does all the time. So it was nice to see again.
I like that he says he needs skilled assets that are willing to step over the line because he can't do that anymore. And I like that he is aware. He hasn't forgotten who he was. He needs somebody to kind of step into that toe the line role.
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm laughing that Elizabeth just in the chat just said no one cares about Idaho. We haven't mentioned Idaho once.
Nobody cares. It's because it's Lucy Lawless, right? Like there is an added bit because of Lucy Lawless.
Oh, God,
but Jeremy called me out on Instagram because when I did all the new first episode characters, like what about Idaho? I'm like, I couldn't fit a seventh face, and no one cares about Idaho. I'm sorry.
It's just like the state. It's the perfect name. Nobody cares about Idaho. Sorry if anyone is from Idaho or living in Idaho.
Well, it's like when they put Iron Man's heart out to float out and completely forgot that Black Widow also got fucking killed in the action.
Yeah.
Oh God. So one thing, another Fitz Mac moment that I like is like Fitz kind of learning how Mac works, because Mac's like, I need sheet music. Like I'm not just doesn't come naturally, but he is good at the tech stuff, just in a very different way. And then he starts asking about Simmons, which I love, because I'm sure everyone's towing around that conversation, and like it's tough to lose a good partner and all that. And then I just wrote gay in my notes because I've said it before. In the beginning, I really thought Mac was gay, and I thought he was kind of that maybe something was going on there. But spoiler alert, I was fucking wrong.
I'm sorry, Jamie.
I know. Brett? I feel like you had to have kind of danced around that idea back then.
I mean, listen. Anytime you introduce any character, I start at gay, so
yeah,
it's not fair.
This is why we've been friends for like 15 years. It's, it's just.
I start at gay.
Okay. Where are we? Okay. Scott, we talked about this. Skye's having a tough time. She's talking. Her and May talk, and May kind of lies to Skye in this scene because she's like, "Is Coulson okay?" And May's like, "Of course," but then we kind of learn that nope. It's been 18 days since his last episode. He's been fighting it. He takes off his ties, he takes off his shoes, he takes out a knife, and he starts carving. Tony, I know you don't like to guess, but what do you think he's carving?
I don't fucking know. I didn't know last season. It's some sort. I mean, Raina talked about it. She said, Bill Paxton's character's name, remind me. Garrett,
yeah.
Garrett,
said he wasn't crazy, he was enlightened. And yeah, he was. Like he got the blue juice in his body, and he had second sight. He could see beyond, he could see our future. And Coulson has gotten a taste of it too. He is under the influence of enlightenment. It's like he's taken a whole bunch of psilocybin, and now he can see through the stars. He's just got this. He's got it in him now, and he has to explore it. I don't know what it means. I don't know if it's an alien language, possibly an alien language, considering it was, harvested from an alien corpse. But, it's full of intrigue. I don't really know. I'm fine not knowing. I like the ride I'm on.
Cool. That's fair. Brett, I know but did you remember at this point having guesses?
I knew.
I
knew exactly what was. I knew exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
I thought just maybe. From comics history. Yeah. All I needed was the blue body, and I knew exactly what was up. And I was so excited. At this point, it was still theory. Like I wasn't positive because there's a lot of places you could go with the blue body, but
there are.
The blue body, and in relation to the obelisk, I had a very strong theory on what the obelisk was, and I will say it turns out I was correct.
Wow.
So I had a
drop the balloons and the confetti.
Yeah, I was pretty sure where this was going, and I was very excited for where this was going.
Cool. Well, gee, now I'm very excited.
You should be. Okay, so we also learned that Coulson got rid of levels, and Tony said, "Well, fuck," because Tony just made it to level 2.
Oh, this show
whatever.
The levels.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh, good. All right.
we still have levels. All right, so then Raina gets the obelisk. Bloodman's in the house. Kyle, our boy, and then he asks her to pick it up. She does, and it glows. It doesn't kill her.
Yeah.
It glows.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
And this was the moment where I was sure.
Yeah. And then the doctor, that's what he's known by at this point. The doctor says, "Bring me my daughter and I'll show the both of you." So that's big. I think we all can guess who his daughter is. I think we know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm deeply intrigued. I'm so excited for more Kyle. Let's go, guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, the doctor is actually a really great name too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is.
And I know that we are a Zoom room full of Twin Peaks fans, and Lynch fans. So just getting Kyle in the show is so exciting.
It's actually the Shadow Cooper, but the Bob that has been walking around in that 25-year window at a certain point. Everyone knows that Twin Peaks: The Return is a spinoff of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Absolutely. Yeah. David Lynch is a diehard AOS fan.
God, can you imagine? Okay. Can you imagine David Lynch's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Okay.
Oh,
it's Dougie all along.
He is a good Lynch. All right, we got the end tag. Talbot and Coulson meet. There's a Cake Boss reference that really dates this episode 10 years ago for sure. Coulson gives Talbot Creel, maybe a little more secure than last time. Love that. He says they'll exchange presents for breathing room, and then Talbot's like, blah, blah, blah. I don't know way. But then, 2 Quinjets are coming into town. They have 2.
Yeah. So badass.
Yeah, that was great. I like the 2. I like that it was all still though kind of a bluff where he was like, "Let's get this thing out of here before it runs out of gas." Like, it was still a paper army, but God, Coulson does have big old balls, doesn't he?
We love it.
2 of them.
So I just have to tell you guys, there was like no interesting history about this episode. I think this is the first time that's ever happened. Like I have nothing interesting to share about behind the scenes. It all kind of comes down to, I think the biggest thing was that Nick Blood is now a series regular. But so before we kick Tony out, was there anything about this episode that either of you wanted to talk about that we have not talked about yet?
I'm good.
No, just that I love any episode where it feels like somebody has officially joined the team. I love because as a kid, even high school, college, I would write down the members of every X-Men team that I could that were currently in the books. Just like it was like my pastime exercise. So I'm so big on team lineups. I'm obsessed with who's off, who's on, and so to have a slot replacement, I was very. I made my new list of who the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. were. I just love that.
I love that. That is perfect, Brett, to segue into before the newcomers leave. Do you have anything you want to plug? Where can the people find you?
Oh, thank you so much. I was like, Tony, go ahead. You can find me on Comic Book Queers. We actually just recorded episode 317. We were an audio podcast for 300 episodes, but 17 episodes ago, we went on YouTube, so you can find us on YouTube or wherever podcasts are sold. It's me and my friend Jeff. Any Drag Race fans, any Trixie Mattel fans, Comic Book Queers is me and Jeff McCubbin, who edits the show Trixie and Katya's show. So if you're a big fan of that type of humor, then come on over.
Perfect. Yes. I guested on the show when I did my Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. panel. That's a fun episode to go listen back to from 7 years ago.
And I feel like we need to have you on for an Agatha episode sometime very soon.
I would love that very much. Tony, say our thank yous.
I will say our thank yous. So thank you to Stephanie at Eclectic Muses on socials. She did our awesome artwork. And thank you to Ryan Mira of Yellow Pills at Yellow Pills Music on Instagram. He did our music. Thank you to our producer, Maria. Thank you, producer Maria.
You're very welcome.
And thank you, as always, to Brett, our lovely guest.
Oh, yes.
Thank you so much for having me on, you guys. It's always a pleasure.
Oh, we love having you. I think by the end of these 7 years, it's going to be like neck and neck, you and Steve Hunt, who will be our guest that was on the most. I think like you're like our Steve Martin and Alec Baldwin on SNL. Like who's going to come out on top?
Sorry, you don't get to pick which one you are.
No,
Can I please be Alec Baldwin? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, well, thank you. Nothing stressful about a 7-year cold competition between me and one of my best friends.
Yep.
It's
You're
great.
welcome. To everybody, a reminder, follow us at LitoPod on Instagram and Twitter. Like, subscribe on Spotify, YouTube, all the places you can listen to a podcast. We really appreciate it. October 6th, LA Comic-Con, 1 p.m. Joe Deckelmeyer, Brandon Davis. It's going to be so much fun. Tony, get out of here so Brett and I can talk spoilers real quick.
I'm leaving the room. Goodbye. Ah!
Is he gone?
He's gone.
Hi.
Okay. I have some few things to talk about. First of all, it's funny where like in retrospect, like the first time I watched this, I was seeing Mac in a very different way. But now that I know him, I know that he's just like a dad. He's Dad Mac. He's just like really good at being a dad. And it's sad because we know the sadness of his child and all that we learn in season 4.
Yes. Yeah.
But
it's just, I mean, just the trajectory of Mac, seeing him at the beginning, it's really something because you realize what got him along the trajectory was that kindness and that empathy and that patience and that toughness, mixed in with all of that. And it's just so cool to see it in its kind of prototype form.
Yeah, God, I just love him so much. We also have to, of course, Hunter talking about his psychotic ex-wife. We are 3 weeks away from Bobby.
Oh, I thought it was a longer stretch. Oh, that's so.
No, episode 5.
I was wondering, like, how long.
She's coming up.
Ex-wife.
Yeah. I'm excited. Like, I don't think Tony's gonna really care because I don't think he like is like a comic, like a Mockingbird fan in that way, and I don't think he like really knows Adrian, but he's gonna be excited just to see a hot lady.
Like, that Mockingbird, I was a huge West Coast Avengers reader, and that was a team that consisted of Iron Man, Moon Knight, Vision, Scarlet Witch, and Mockingbird. And she had those bell sleeves that I think I've showed you pictures of in the past, her giant bell sleeves that Bobby Morse coming into the show, I'll never forget. It was one of the greatest moments of my life.
I love that. How do you feel about the fact that Hawkeye kind of gave Laura her number? Like,
yeah, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Because never did I think that Jeremy Renner and oh my goodness, I forget her name. She played Wonder Woman once in a failed pilot. Adrian
Pilecki, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Never did I think that those two were gonna like have any sort of history. So I like that they gave Hawkeye an Agent 13. I like that they gave Hawkeye a Mockingbird. I also never really thought Bobby Morse was there was nothing Mockingbird ever suggested. So in the MCU, I think Bobby Morse and Mockingbird are two separate characters, and I think Linda Cardellini is Mockingbird.
That's fair. To me, and like even if they were, multiple people have the same moniker. It's some people were upset about it. It didn't bother me personally.
It didn't bother me.
Let's see. I was trying to obviously Hunter and Sky is never a thing. I was just trying to.
It's so not a thing. Oh my God. It's so funny.
I have to confuse him.
Yeah, I had the same thought. Oh, okay, we can play with will they, won't they with Tony with Hunter and Sky for sure. But can you imagine?
Not? I know. I'd be pretty hot. I thought Creel was inhuman. But I forgot he's not. That's why the obelisk is fucking him up. But
exactly.
It still makes sense because he did pick it up as with rubber. So the fact that it's acting, it's all of that makes sense because I actually was looking on Reddit and people were confused at the time, but I think it makes sense. He's not an inhuman, but because of his powers, that's why it all got wonky. He got his powers.
Got a little wonky.
He was one of the Von Strucker experiments in the MCU universe, which I like.
Oh, interesting. Okay, very cool. Yeah. I don't think I've realized that. That's awesome. I like that they gave him that kind of MCU origin.
I feel because I forgot Creel comes back in like heavily in season 5, and that's
Mm-hmm.
when Strucker's son is back, and like I feel like they talk about it then.
Right.
Yeah. Mm. Raina saying what we become, of course,
Oof.
that is huge because that's and
Yeah.
I obviously like I'm also like, oh, wait until Trip becomes a series regular because I'm trying to throw Tony off that scent too. Sadly, BJ Britt is not going to become a series regular, tragically.
No. He's going to become motivation. He's going to be almost refrigerated, almost, to use a comics term. But that
Yes.
doesn't apply to men. So
No, it doesn't. But still,
no, it does not.
it is sad. It is sad.
It
But
is,
like
yeah, it's
I
very
always
sad.
say, good TV hurts. I love when they kill people off because it makes me sad.
Yeah, and it gave tragedy
Yeah.
to the origin story, which is a needed element.
100%. There's been some debate in the comments. So, Brett, Deke or Hunter?
Oh wow! Oh my God,
You
this is
know my answer.
stressful. This is stressful. It's my heart's with Deke.
It's with Deke. I know. I get like people hate him because he like sold her to slavery. I'm sorry. I don't care. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like I love Deke's my favorite character. I can't help it. I love Hunter, but I'm picking Deke every time. I'm a sucker for that man. I love him so much.
Yeah, it's like, why make me choose? Why make you choose between my children? I mean, it's funny. I love Hunter, but so much of why I love Hunter is because I love Hunter being half of a thing that I love, whereas
Yeah.
Deke is Deke. So
I know.
Deke
We will ride or
Deke
die
just
for Deke till at the end of time.
yeah, he just shines a little brighter.
Well, anything else spoilery that you wanted to bring up?
Well, just this represents kind of a really tough time for me in terms of Marvel because I knew Inhumans was coming. And part of the reason I knew Inhumans was coming was because, and I could be just mushing this all up in my memory, but this was also around the time where I believe it was Ike Perlmutter who owned Marvel. This was pre-Disney, obviously, who owned Marvel, who replaced the X-Men with the Inhumans. He made an active effort to remove any X-Men characters from any sort of licensing. So and downplay them in the books. So the Inhumans were taking front stage. They were upstaging the X-Men in the comics big time. There was even like classic shots. Like there's a classic from the old Secret Wars series, a classic cover that was made into a very like a prolific T-shirt, where in the foreground you've got Rogue and Wolverine. And I remember, I forget who Rogue was replaced with, but Wolverine was replaced with Iron Fist. And I was like, wow, they are really removing the X-Men from Marvel Comics, and in their place was this big push for the Inhumans, and it made me so angry and sad. And so this big Inhumans push going on with Agents of Shield was kind of reflective of that, and it was a tough time. It was a tough time to be an X fan.
But look at us now. Look, like now it's the best time to be
But
an
look at us
X-Men
now.
fan.
Exactly.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
all thriving. And I've never even seen the Inhuman show. When Anson Mount showed up in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, I was like, who the fuck is that guy?
Girl, it's worth a watch because
I
it's
know.
so fucking bad. It's so fucking bad.
I think we'll cover it on the Patreon eventually, just to
Yes, and please, oh my god, it's oh my god.
We'll have you
I
on
could go.
for sure.
I could talk about it, but you'll be like, I don't know what that is, but it's
Yeah,
just so bad.
yeah. Wow. Well, thank you so much. It's always like any excuse to talk Agents of Shield with you. We've talked about this when you were on before, but 2 weeks from now is Face My Enemy, and that is the episode that I watched at your house that got me back into Shield. So almost 10 years ago, you helped me fall back in line, and here we are today, 10 years later. I know.
Oh my god, that's so cool.
I know.
Oh, that's
Time is
crazy.
wild.
I'm gonna judge your guest host very harshly in 2 weeks.
We are actually. I'm hoping for someone cool that week. Like, we'll see.
Oh, someone I know.
No, like someone shieldy. But I don't want to. I don't want to get anyone's hopes up. I don't want to
get your hopes up, everybody.
No, because I have made. I don't want to make any promises. But we've got 7 years to get good people on this show. But Brett's good people. You know what I mean? Get.
I know what you mean. Big people.
Oh, started strong. Okay. I love you, Brett. Thank you for being here.
I love you
Thank
too.
you.
Thank you so much for having me on.
We
Talk soon.
everyone in the chat. I just want to say thank you, and don't forget LA Comic Con live a week from today, 1 p.m. And for those asking, the episode should be dropping normally the next day on Monday. It won't be live on chat like this, live in person, but you will be able to listen to the episode like a normal episode the following day. Farewell.